Welcome to How to Tell Someone. I'm your host, Tanya Pesky. Before we begin, I want to offer a clear heads up about the content in this episode. The story you're about to hear includes detailed descriptions of severe physical and emotional child abuse, as well as a child sexual assault. These experiences are shared honestly and directly, and some of the details may be difficult to hear. Please take care of yourself as you decide whether or how to listen. As always, you can find the full list of content warnings in the show notes. This story comes from Kayla.
I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, to a young mother. I believe she turned 16 or 17 just 4 days before I was born. I was given up for adoption, it sounds like pretty immediately. So when I was 5 months old, I was adopted by a Caucasian couple in Southwest Portland, and I flew here to Oregon. I was raised with 3 other adopted siblings. One of them was 3 months younger than me. We both arrived at the same time, but we're not biologically related. So I have another African-American adopted sibling and a younger, about 3 years younger, adopted sibling who was born in Busan, Korea. And then a sister who was a few years older who was born in Calcutta, India. We were raised in, a predominantly white community. And again, parents Caucasian, we stuck out, definitely. It's really complicated as far as like the motivations behind the adoption is something I think about a lot. My adoptive parents, they would dress us up in like traditional garb from like my adopted sister had a sari and my adopted brother was dressed in like traditional Korean clothing. And then my other African-American brother and I were in like tribal clothing, and it was really odd. They would teach us like phrases. And so we'd be out and about and people would come up to us and say like, "Oh my gosh, are these your children?" And they were like, "Yes, they are." And we'd kind of sound off with our like, we'd say "Jumbo" to greet them. So they taught us all how to say hello and in different languages. It was a whole bit. And that is pretty fascinating to me. I think at the time being, dressed up and paraded around, I remember like one of my only memories as a kid was being in like I don't know if it was like Adopted Kids Around the World pageant or something. And my brother and I were on stage and I was like smiling and having that, I love center stage, put me on there. I love it. And my adopted brother was crying and I was just like, smile, we're doing a whole show right now. Back then, again, I don't have very many memories of growing up, so I don't know what I thought about it at the time, but I know now that I feel like it was putting on a show. And I remember people always being like, "Oh my gosh, these people are so wonderful for taking these kids in, and I can't believe it." And it was very like, "You all are so lucky." My adopted mother told me once that I was adopted several times and that I was given back. And it was because I was too dark. And then she always told me the story that they saw a book of children and they pointed at me and said, like, "What about her?" And that the adoption worker said, "Oh, you don't want her. People have given her back. She's too dark." And they said, "That's our daughter you're talking about." And I remember growing up being like, "Oh my gosh, like, thank you so much for rescuing me and for taking me when no one else would want me." Now, obviously, as an adult, I'm like, that's some fucking bullshit. And I don't believe it at all. I think that's like a glimpse into their mindset. Like, we are saviors. We've rescued you all. You're so lucky to be here with us. We took you when no one else would want you. That was definitely played a part the whole time I lived with them. There was multiple times where I would end up apologizing to them and comforting them for something they'd done to me. And like, "You're a great mother." And I, hug them and say I'm so sorry for being the way that I am. Living with my other adopted siblings, it was very odd, and I think about it not as often anymore, but it's a little difficult because there was four of us living in the home, and only two of us had a really difficult time, had a lot of abuse. There was physical, sexual, emotional abuse throughout the entirety of living with them, but only for two of us. So for me, I've always been like a perfectionist, and I always want to be the best and do the best. So I remember growing up and thinking, if I just had the best grades of everyone in the house, or if I was the most helpful, or if I was the funniest and I made them like happy, then maybe these things wouldn't happen, and it never mattered. And so I think that's probably one of the most chilling or haunting things to me is I wish I could say like, how did you, and not that I of course would ever wish that the other, one of the other siblings instead of me had these things happen, but just how was those determinations made? Like, you two are terrible, but you other two are good. We grew up in a nice large home. It was an old Victorian home. It was over 100 years old when I lived there. It was a nice neighborhood, great education. My adoptive parents were very intelligent, successful people, and we got to do great things. Like, we got to go to Scotland in the summer, and we had it seemed like a lot of money. We had like giant trampolines, and our adoptive parents could take us or our friends to concerts, and people were always like, "Oh, you're so lucky that your parents can do these things." But really at home, it was really frightening all the time. Like, my adoptive mother was mentally unwell and also addicted to painkillers, and she spent all of her time at home. I don't recall her ever working, but she was just at home in bed all the time. She was very, very volatile, and everything was just so unexpected. So you didn't know what you were going to get. And I think that was the most difficult thing. You'd come home, or you'd, walk into a room, and I could like sense if I was going to have a really bad day with her or not, but you didn't know when or why. So you were kind of always on edge and like reading the room, and okay, her blinds are shut. Does that mean something? The TV's not on. Does that mean something? Your mind's racing all the time and trying to evaluate what's going to happen. I don't know. I guess she just, whatever, on a whim, whatever came to her mind. So there was a lot of like spankings that would occur, and they would happen for just, it felt like for an hour, just until, their hands hurt. And sometimes that meant that they picked up an object instead, or they had this thing where they were obsessed with my weight as a young kid. And it's so interesting. I see pictures of me, and I was a very normal, healthy, average kid. So I'm not sure where that came from. But they were obsessed with it when I was younger, and they would weigh me in every weekend. And if I gained weight, then I was grounded. Sometimes I'd be, physically punished. And a lot of times they would just tell me, you're disgusting. And they would make me look at myself in the mirror naked and tell me, you're ugly, you're disgusting. No one's going to love you. You're never going to have a family. One time in the summer, I was locked outside of our house in the middle of the day, naked, just to embarrass me. And it's like a federal or a postal worker or a FedEx truck driver found me outside and walked me to my door and was like, "What are you doing out here?" And my adoptive mother answered and like pulled me in, and then put me in the basement instead. But I think about that person all the time, and I think like, was that not odd to you that there was a child outside locked out of their house naked? And I wonder about them, or what happened, or how they were able to justify that for themselves and drive on about their day. I think the worst part for me is they would find out like the things that scared you the most, and the things that were the most upsetting and frightening, and use that against you. So I was very afraid of the dark growing up. And so my punishment a lot of the times would be, we had in a Victorian home that had the original cellar, and it had these like creepy wooden stairs that led down into them. And there was a lock at the top of the stairs, but it was on the outside. And so they would lock me in our original cellar in the dark, and the light switch was on the outside as well. So they'd turn off the light, lock it, leave me in there overnight. And that was always probably the scariest. Like, I'd rather be spanked for an hour than shut in the dark in this creepy cellar where you're convincing yourself, like, ghosts are for sure down here. I'm gonna die. You know, you learn to cope. I found out that if I opened up the dryer, there was light from the dryer, and then if I turned on the dryer, it was warm, so I could like lay on top of the dryer to stay warm, or leave the door open and have some light. My punishments were surrounded by weight loss or weight gain. So I would say that that was a primary focus. For dinner, you know, a small salad in a little bowl or something. And I was a growing kid, so I would be hungry, and my friends knew about that part. And so they'd give me snacks and stuff at school. So I was like getting snacks or like stealing change and getting food from the vending machine. So I'm eating terrible food. And then it was like, oh, she gained 2 pounds this weekend. Another thing I think about is I was a kid, and like kids grow and kids gain weight. And so it's kind of like, what did you expect? The weight was definitely a major focus for them. And one thing that I have considered, but why myself and one of my siblings were the targets when the other two weren't, was that presumably they were like, she's going to be overweight. That's not a good look, maybe. And then my other sibling also had a birth defect. They were born with only one arm. And so they had a prosthetic arm. And I remember they would punish them by hiding their prosthetic arm. And so then they would have to go to school without their prosthetic. And instead of going without it, they would skip school because they didn't want to be seen without it. And then they would get in trouble for not being at school. And it was like this whole cycle. And sometimes I could find their arm and give it to them. That sentence sounds so wild. So I think something I thought is, okay, if they were obsessed about me being overweight, and then my sibling also had this deformity, are those the things that they were like, these aren't perfect children or something in their minds? Maybe that was what caused them to, but you can make yourself crazy, honestly, thinking about, well, maybe because of this, or maybe because of that. It was really my upbringing was really difficult, for sure. So I think all of that to say, it's important to say, because my story, when I think about it, it's made it a lot more difficult to be able to share the thing that happened to me, because my adoptive parents weren't people that brought me comfort. They didn't make me feel safe. It wasn't like someone I could run home to and say, this thing happened to me, help me feel better. I don't have a lot of clear memories of my adolescence or growing up, but I do remember I had a couple of best friends that lived on the same street as me, and tried to be away, as you can imagine, as much as possible away from home. But I was grounded all the fucking time. So, in the rare instances that I wasn't grounded, I would go on slumber parties in my best friends' houses, and I listened to music a lot, in sync, Backstreet Boys. I loved to sing and dance, and was always, I think, like the jokester. So I was like the one in the group that made everyone laugh all the time, and that made me feel good to make other people feel good. At that time, before this incident happened, I was like a rule follower, mostly because I had to be. At this time, I was best friends with a girl who lived like one street away from me, and she was older. She was maybe, I think, a year older than I was. And she had a completely different life where her parents let her do anything she wanted. She just smoked cigarettes, and she would go to parties, and she'd sneak out of the house, and it was just like no repercussions at all. And so she was kind of like wild, and it made me nervous. I was like, you're doing what? We just talked about boys all the time, and she would show me. She had like access to her parents' laptop and or computer, not laptop. And she would tell me all the boys she was talking to on AOL Instant Messenger, of course. And she'd be in chat rooms, and I'd just watch her like ASL and just flirting and doing whatever the hell she wanted. And it was kind of just like, whoa, wild to see the other side of things. Like this person who had no cares and did whatever the hell they wanted. Yeah, I think she was someone that I don't know if she scared me. I think it was more like how I was like incredulous, like literally, how are you like this? And how do you get to be like this? And it was like, what do you mean you're going to just go see this boy? What are your parents going to do? And she's like, I don't give a shit. I think I was just in awe. And I actually felt bad for her parents. Like, my God, she's so wild. I'm so sorry. And so they loved me. If she was the bad influence, I was the good influence. And so they were like, Kayla, like, please do something about this girl. I wasn't grounded for once. And I asked them if I could stay the night at my best friend's house. They said yes. It was a miracle. Went over to her house. I remember coming in the door. I like greeted her parents, and I, bounded down the steps into her basement. She had like a den area where the computer was. And I walked in, I like sat on the desk and was asking what she was doing. And I remember she was looking at me like so mischievously, and she was like, we're going out tonight. And she showed me this guy that she had been talking to. She showed me his pictures, and it was like, oh my gosh, he's older and he's so cute. And she's like, there's a party and he's going to have all his friends over, and there's going to be like, we're going to drink and have so much fun. And I was so scared, but like giggling and excited. And I just remember saying like, how are we going to do this? She said we were going to go downtown to watch a movie. And she asked her parents, we're going to go to the movie theater. I think she was like, don't tell Kayla's parents, you know how they are. But we'll go to the movie and then we'll call you when we need a ride back. Her mother drove us downtown, dropped us off at Pioneer Square, and we immediately hopped a Max and we were headed to Northeast Portland. And I was like just giddy and excited and being like, I can't believe I'm sneaking out. I've never done this before. And I'm going to go see some boys. And we were just listening to music and like nervously laughing. And I remember like, do I look okay? Do you look okay? And I'm imagining we just like doused ourselves in love spell perfume. I bet there's probably some like cherry flavored lip gloss going on. We were just super excited, and I was really nervous because I'd never done it before. But I remember thinking like, I just want to be cool. I want them to think that I'm cool because we're 14 or 15, and these guys are older. And you hang all the time, Kayla. You're one of those cool 14 or 15-year-olds. We got off at the Max station. We head up the stairs to the top, and we got picked up by 2 or 3 men. I remember thinking like, they're so cute. And I mean, again, I'm 14 and 15, but I remember thinking like, okay, they have beards and things. They were like 20, definitely 20s. They could buy alcohol. Maybe, I think 1 or 2 of them were maybe in their 30s, possibly, but definitely 20s, 30s. And I feel like it was a pretty short drive. I was just, giggling, and we were laughing, and we were in the car, and they get us to this house. We get inside and walk through the door. If I look to the right, there's a living room. There's like a couch, and it's like kind of open to a dining area, and you can see through to like a kitchen. And there's no one there. There's music playing, but there's no one else there besides, I think at this time there's 3, maybe 4 men, and then my friend and I. Pretty quickly, they bring us a couple of drinks, and it's in like solo cups. And I, mind you, again, hadn't really partied before. I think I probably like snuck a couple sips of my adoptive parents' like stash or something. But I'd never been out and really had drinks or known what that was like. So I was kind of nervous, but I didn't want to look like a rookie or anything. So thanked them for the solo cup. I sit down on the couch. I'm kind of sipping mine, and I'm looking around, just kind of taking everything in. My friend is standing up. There's music playing. She's dancing. She like downs her drink so fast and she's laughing. And I'm just like, kind of smiling and bopping my head around and things. I have a few more sips and I start feeling like a little weird, a little odd. And I thought, okay, I haven't drank really before. So, like, this is what being drunk is like, I guess. I think I put my drink down, feeling a little loopy. And then suddenly my friend who was dancing in front of us just like sways and kind of crumbles to the ground. I saw these two or three men kind of pounce on her. And I'm super tired, like jello legs. I remember like crawling over to like lay across her, and they pull us apart. I get separated from her. We get taken into different areas. The night is really fuzzy, but I remember me going into a back bedroom and her being taken off somewhere and deeper into the house. My next memory is that I'm still in the same room that I was dragged off to, but suddenly my best friend is with me again, and we're on a twin size bed that's up against a wall. We're laying right next to each other on our backs, and we're partially unclothed. And I remember, I think all the men were in the room, so there was three or four of them. They're kind of laughing. It feels like loud. I can feel my friend next to me. I can hear her like moaning, but she looks like she's not awake. I was in a lot of pain, and I remember like a bright light, and I could tell, I don't know if it was a cell phone or like a recorder or what, but someone was recording us. There was video footage being taken. I remember like shaking my head, and again, just more pain. They were assaulting us. I could remember that. And I remember feeling and seeing that they used different objects on us. I remember a hairbrush specifically, and just how painful that felt, and just being really confused and trying to just think about my friend and wondering, why does she keep making these sounds? And then we're separated again. The next thing I remember is being in a basement or like a den. And I know like through the living room, there was a stairway that led down into a basement den area that was darker. I was down there, I don't know how long, I don't recall anything that happened, but I come to again being led into their backyard. There's a camper and or a trailer parked there. They open the door, I go inside, and then my friend is on this raised platform in the back of the camper, and she is fully unclothed. I saw vomit all around her, and these men are laughing and are showing me my friend and saying things to me that I can't recall. And then my memories fade again until I'm back in the basement with them. I remember thinking, I need to stay awake. I need to make sure that I know what's going on. So I'm trying to like look around the room and remember things. I was like, remember trying to look at the clock and know what time it was. I just remember thinking, do whatever you need to do to stay awake. At some point in time, I remember realizing that all the men were downstairs in the same room with me, that it was quiet, and that somehow I realized that they were all asleep. And I don't know if there was a light somehow streaming through somewhere, but I thought like, okay, I think it's morning now. I somehow just like moved really slowly, really carefully, and got out from under them or around them and grabbed my clothes. I remember walking super slow and super deliberately. I walked up the stairwell that led back into the kitchen and looking down to see if anyone, stirred. I made it to the top, and I'm not sure if I got dressed below or above then, but I made my way out to the backyard, the camper. That's the last place I saw my friend. I go to try to open the door, but I remember there being like some sort of padlock or a lock on it, and I couldn't open it. And so I found a rock. I broke the padlock with the rock, and I remember being so fucking scared because I thought, this is so fucking loud. Like, there's no way that no one's going to hear this. Thankfully, they didn't. So I got into the camper. My friend is exactly in the same place that I left her. I managed to get her clothes back on and kind of clean her up a little bit, but she's still just like moaning and out of it. She can't really help. So I like put her around my arm, like get her out of the camper. I remember going through like the side of their yard and making it out to the street. And she's still like kind of dead weight. So we're just moving along really slowly, but I'm like dragging her down the streets. Like, I wouldn't say it's completely daylight, but it's like the sun is rising. So it had to be really early in the morning. The sun's rising. We're walking through the streets. I'm like dragging her along until I make it to some gas station. And there's a payphone at the corner. I kind of like lean her down on the ground. I think I call her parents collect, and her dad gets on the line, and I tell him the cross streets. I tell him where we are. I just kind of sat down with her on the ground and just sat with her or hugged her until her dad came. It felt like it was a really long time, which it probably was. Like, we were in Southwest Portland, Lake Oswego area, and this was somewhere deep in Northeast. So it was quite a bit of a wait, but he got there. I get my friend into the back seat, and we're just like, she's leaning on me. I'm looking out the window. I remember nothing was really said. I think her dad told me, your parents are expecting you. They know you were out. I'm taking you home. I think that was all that was said. And it was just a silent drive with my friend still like out of it next to me. It didn't surprise me that her dad didn't have any questions for us, because she had been someone who was sneaking out of the house and like drinking and doing things. So I think they probably were not surprised that this happened. I don't know how that conversation went when she got home, but I imagine they like just let her sleep it off and were like, you're grounded or something like that. The first stop was him dropping me off at my adoptive parents' house. I get out of the car, I go up to the doorway, try to open the door, but it's locked. So I had to ring the doorbell for them to let me in. My adoptive father was home. They greeted me. My adoptive mother took me by the hand and took me upstairs to their bedroom. I don't think any words were said. I feel like she just grabbed my arm, led me upstairs, and I knew I was in huge trouble. It feels like we walked through the door and immediately I was receiving my punishment. She told my adoptive father to like hold my legs, or hold my limbs, and she used this chunk of wood. They had this wood stopper that was like a thick chunk of wood that tapered at the end. And she just hit me over and over on my back and on my butt with this piece of wood. And it was probably like the worst beating I'd have before from them. It was just relentless. And I'd never really fought back before. It was kind of like, if you just take it, it'll get over sooner. But this time I started kicking. I kicked my leg out, made contact with my adopted father's ribs, and they told me later that I had cracked some of his ribs. And then it stopped, and I just remember being in a lot of pain, and that for days, it felt like days, I could only sleep on my stomach. I remember being like just laid up in bed for days on my stomach because it hurt to move. And I knew, like, I'm not telling them anything about this. I didn't even have an opportunity. I don't even think we even talked about, where did you go? What happened? Why did you, lie about going to a movie or anything like that? It was just like, you're home, here's your punishment. And then I was laid up. I kind of wonder, because I didn't fight back that night. I just remember thinking, like, maybe it'll be over soon. And there's more of them than there are of me. And my friend isn't going to be able to help us. So all there is to do is to just go along with this. So I think when I was on my adoptive parents' bed, I think it is really telling that that was the first time that I felt like fuck you. Like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm not just going to lay here and let this happen. And I remember when they told me, when my adoptive father was like, you cracked some of my ribs. And I remember feeling like proud, like, yeah, that's fucking right. After it happened, I don't think I saw her for a little bit. And it's interesting to me because I only recall us talking about it maybe 2 or 3 times. And I told her that she was so lucky that she doesn't remember anything. And I vividly remember her telling me, like, are you fucking kidding me? You, at least you remember. Like, I don't know anything that happened to me at all, and I'll never know. As an adult, when I think about it, it's like, fuck, dude, like what is the most ideal? None of them. They're both terrible, but would you rather remember everything and know what happened to you, or be able to not have to relive those details? Neither is enviable, obviously. We both were feeling like we didn't really recover from it. And so I think either weeks or maybe months went by, and we both were just like, I don't feel right. Like, something feels off. We skipped school and we went to the Planned Parenthood. They did exams on us and tests. We just like waited to hear back. Planned Parenthood called my home. I don't know if I just came home from school or what. I remember my adopted sister and my adopted mother saying, why did the hell did we get a call that the exam didn't, was very concerning for them. They wanted me to come in again for like imaging and things, and that also STIs were present. Basically, what the hell have you been doing? I remember being like shocked, obviously, at the results from Planned Parenthood. I hadn't been doing anything. So it wasn't like, well, I wonder how this happened. It all came flooding out of me. It seems like it would be more of a memorable moment for me, but I just remember being confronted. Hey, Planned Parenthood called. They said these things. What the hell is this about? And I said, like, I'll tell you what it's about. Remember this day that I came home and I just told them the whole story, like I told you. It was the very first time I remember my adopted mother looking at me like with pity and sadness, and she cried. And I remember, I think, being surprised that she could have those feelings about me. And she hugged me and she she asked me why I never told her. Mom, Dad, this horrible thing happened to me. I'm scared. Like, do we go to the police? I think I could have died tonight. And I feel like I was angry crying. And I don't know if I told her because when I got home from the worst night of my life, you beat the shit out of me. But I certainly remember thinking, like, of course I didn't fucking tell you. Like, you are the scariest person in the world to me. I just remember thinking it was so mind boggling to me that she would be wondering why I wouldn't share that with her sooner. The good thing that came out of that was that we finally got treatment. So there had to be like a lot of procedures and things, and medication, obviously, to address the STIs. And thankfully, none of the damage or anything was long term. So doesn't affect me any longer. And then from there, my adopted parents had me seeing a therapist. The only fucking good thing they did for me was find this doctor, and she was just the fucking best. She was amazing. I saw her from that point on until I was taken into protective custody, and then shortly thereafter as well. But then I didn't see her anymore for years and years and years. And actually, until I was in my late 20s, I think I was having a difficult time. And I thought, I should find a therapist. And then I remembered, I wonder if that therapist I saw when I was a kid is still practicing. And I remember calling her and leaving a voicemail and saying, hi, my name is Kayla. You saw me back when I was, this age, and I don't know if you remember me, but I'm looking for a therapist and was hoping you were accepting patients. I feel like she called me back within like 15 minutes, and I answered, and I remember her just saying like, Kayla, I think about you all the time. I would love to see you. Like, I will make room in my schedule. I'm so glad to hear that you're okay and that you're doing well. And I saw her all the way until she retired a little over a year ago. It's interesting. My memories again are really difficult from childhood. And so when I saw her again as an adult, she actually could piece together things for me and tell me things that I didn't remember. Like in the aftermath of the assault, I struggled a lot. My grades slipped mostly because I developed insomnia. And so I couldn't sleep until the sun came up. So I'd sleep for a couple hours and have to get up for school. So my sleep was really terrible. And then I didn't find out or remember this until I was seeing her again as an adult, that she said I also had, difficult time being undressed and like to take showers or get undressed in front of people. And that was something that we worked through a lot. She also told me, she was like, you were so bright and you were very specific about the types of information you shared with me, and that I would use hypotheticals like, hypothetically, if someone at my house was doing such and such, what would you have to do with that information? So I always gave her just enough about my home life that it was like she felt like she couldn't really like report it. I was like testing the waters with things, which was really interesting, fascinating to me to hear. I just remember my adoptive father would pick me up from my therapy sessions when I was a kid, like sit in the car with me and ask me, how did it go? What did you talk about? And I remember always being like, that's so weird that he cares about what I'm talking about in these sessions. And now as an adult, I'm like, well, fuck yeah, he did. He was like, literally, please God, tell me what you've told them. Fortunate for him at the time, I didn't tell them anything or enough. I was very lucky to find her again and be able to see her again. And she remembered, everything. And so we both kind of got to reconnect, and that felt really, really good. So good. When she finally retired, I was at a really great place. It was kind of like, I even said, like, I don't think I need a referral. I later was like, it might be good to have someone to talk to. And she referred me to someone that she worked with closely. And that woman has been so wonderful too. And she connected with my therapist before, and they, even after she retired, to just like get some background and history on me and learn about everything she could. So she did a lot of homework before we met, and she was very much like, I know I can't replace, but I'm going to do my best. And yeah, she's really great too. She's really wonderful. I've gotten really good luck with my therapist. Thank God. I needed a break, right? And I got it. I do struggle with having that compassion for myself. Like, my therapist has talked about young Kayla and giving young Kayla grace and having compassion for her, because I feel like, why wasn't she braver? Why wasn't she stronger? Why didn't she, tell anyone? Like, you lived there, and I wasn't taken into custody until I was, 16. And it was because I was forced to, like, an incident happened where I had to disclose. I was like cornered. I didn't do it myself. I wasn't strong enough to go and find help. And even like with the incident with these men, I was like, you literally left their house. You went to a payphone. Did you call 911? No, you didn't. You called your friend's dad. I could have written down the house number and called them and said, you need to go to this address. They're all passed out downstairs. I'm sure our, DNA and fingerprints are everywhere. Like, that would have been a slam dunk. And I spend a lot of time, or have spent, not so much anymore. I try to be kinder to myself now, but you spend a lot of time just in what if land, like, what would have been different if I had done these things? And then would I have been strong enough, to testify? And would they be in jail? And then I just think these men know that they got away with it. There's a lot of guilt and concern that, like, well, did they keep doing this to other people? And then if they did, I think that would be so devastating to me, because I would think I could have stopped that, and I didn't. That has been a lot of my therapy, is just feeling guilt about not being braver and not being stronger, to speak up. And that applies to the incident with the group assault, and also with my adoptive parents as well. When I was taken into custody, I was offered the opportunity. I remember there was cases and legal action against them and talk of going to prison and things. And they asked me if I would testify against them. And I remember saying, no, I don't want to do that. I was too scared. And that haunts me probably more than anything. How wonderful would it have felt to look at them and say, these are things that you did to me. This is the truth. You're trying to say and paint yourself a picture of you in this way that's not true. And I'm going to tell people what you've done to, my sibling and I. And I didn't do it. Obviously, my therapists are like, shut that shit down. I try to do that, but I just feel like I'm such a strong person now that I don't fucking suffer any fools now. And so I just wish I could have had a little more of that when I was younger. And then even when I was taken into protective custody, I remember I was like a fucking menace. Honestly, I was just cared about myself, did whatever I wanted to do and had to do to make myself feel good until I was like 20 years old. I think I finally got my shit together. I spent years just partying, doing whatever I wanted, and basically emancipated or was able to live on my own when I was about 17, I think. And so I had an apartment and lived with friends and things and just partied, let people take care of me and take pity on me, and didn't try to do anything for myself. So I just kind of checked out and tried to chase good feelings for years and years and years. And I look back on that time and it's so not me. The people that I know now who, when I tell them, because I share these are all the things that happened to me and these are the terrible decisions I made after that. And they are just honestly so shocked. That's so far from who I am now. And so looking back on that time period is really difficult, really devastating for me. And I feel like it makes me try to be such a different person now and give back, and I volunteer, and I care about my friends, and I care about my impact on others, and try to be really intentional with the things that I do now. There was a really, really dark time, but my life now is just really wonderful. I'm the director of a consulting firm in the public sector. And so I help school districts get funding for their telecommunication services. And I volunteer at the Oregon Humane Society. I signed up to be a baker for Cakes for Kids, and they make baked goods for displaced youth to help celebrate graduations and birthdays and things, and just have really wonderful people like you, Tanya, in my life. And I feel so fortunate. So whenever, it's really rare, but sometimes I'll, let things that have happened before enter my mind and start feeling really odd about them. And then I'm very fortunate. My mind kind of kickstarts and corrects course really quickly. And I start taking inventory, and I'm just who the hell am I to feel sorry for myself right now? I'm really fortunate to have a mindset that lets me be able to do that. Life is pretty wonderful. It wasn't there for a really long time. But at this point, I'm greater than 30 and less than 40 years old. And so, yeah, that math is right. So it's more than half of my life has been, on the upswing. And unfortunately, everyone handles trauma differently. And I've thought a lot about my best friend before, and I've looked her up several times. And I know even shortly after it happened, we both spiraled. Like I said, we both had a really difficult time, but it looks like she hasn't been able to bring herself out of it. There was extreme drug abuse, and I know cutting issues, and just really long-term devastating things to see. And that's really broken my heart for her and for her family. It makes me feel really lucky to come out of it on the other side and be in the place that I am now. I feel for her a lot, and for other people too that have gone through similar things and that are still, struggling right now. I think I still feel like I wish I had done more and that I should have done more. But I, at the same time now, am able to say logically, what are other 16-year-olds doing right now? Are they testifying in court against their adoptive parents or against three or four grown men. Like, how often is that happening? It's not logically when someone tells me that 16-year-old you did what they had to do and that was the best decision for them at the time. Logically, yes. But sometimes it's still like, but probably every 4 years or something, 4 or 5 years, I think I get this wild hair and I'm like, this is bullshit. Someone needs to answer to the things that happened to me. I need justice. So then I make calls. I remember contacting the Multnomah County, police department and making some phone calls and getting in touch, having them refer me to someone who did like a detective or something. And my question was, I was taken into custody. I know that there was like charges or some legal action. And I know that my adoptive parents had to go through the system. Like, my adoptive father had to move out of the house because underage kids still lived there for a bit. And they had lie detector tests that they failed. And there had been discussion about them going to prison and things. And they were threatening their own lives. And so my other sibling was taken into custody. He wasn't in any physical danger. Like, they weren't abusive towards him. But once they started making these claims of taking their lives, if they were having to go to prison, then they were like, it's not psychologically safe for him. So then he had to go, and he thankfully got to move in with a friend. I know that I basically was calling around to say, I know these few things occurred, but I don't know what happened after that. Like, what was the resolution? Obviously, they didn't go to prison. Can you tell me why? Can you tell me what happened? The detective told me that basically I think statute of limitations happened, but my last time that I talked about it, he said at the time there wasn't enough evidence that the DA felt that they could move forward successfully. So it sounds like that was dropped. And so that made me obviously feel like if I had testified, that would have been stronger. I want them to acknowledge what happened to me and for them to be held accountable in some way. And that's not going to happen. Like, statute of limitations laws, it's passed, and it's so infuriating because I don't think I was in a place where I could have done anything and testified and really made a difference until now that I'm older and secure and confident, and then it's too late. And then I've thought most recently, I want to get involved and make changes to legislation and stuff so that statute of limitations are changed in Oregon, because state by state, it's different. And who do I contact? What would I be able to do to make a difference it's too late for me, but for someone else? That's something I'm really interested in finding out more about. It's really helpful to share this story with you because I know, we have a similar background. And so it feels like you can understand on some level the things that I talk about. When I think about other people in my life hearing my story, the thing that I always worry about is I don't want anyone to look at me. The look when they're hey, and you're don't hey me. I'm doing fine. I don't want anyone to treat me any differently or talk to me any differently. I'm still the same person, and I don't need anyone's pity or anything at all. I feel like sharing a story is really helpful for me, again, to get it out there and do my yearly purge and remind myself that this was something that happened. But really, I hope that other people can feel like they're not alone. I think it's really isolating if you're in it or were in it. And just knowing that other people have gone through those things, you're not alone. Hopefully you have someone that you can talk to that you feel comfortable and safe with. And that's so important. It took me, 17 years to find someone that I felt safe with. That's a big deal. I feel find people that you can be yourself with and that you can share with, and know you're not alone, and give yourself grace. I'm still working on that for sure, but I hope that other people are able to be kinder to themselves and find some light and love for themselves, and know that it doesn't always have to be this way or that it won't always be this way. Man, my curls are popping right now. They look fucking good, girl. Oh my God, it's so distracting.
We've known each other for how many years? Like 13 or 14 years. It makes sense to me that it would feel so uncomfortable to sort of uncover the things of your past because it's so incongruous with the person you are today, because you are just like a ball of joy and you seem to be very carefree. You know, you come across as someone who's very carefree. The goal is to like learn how to find joy and like create it for yourself and the people around you. It's miraculous that you're able to do that for yourself and everyone around you. I think I said this to you after one of your recent parties, but it strikes me that everyone there is very good-hearted and they're all like interested in talking to each other, and no one's there to be cool. And I think that you attract people like that, and you've got a good community of friends around you, and you deserve it.
Tanya, are we falling in love right now? Is that what's happening? It's been a long time coming. I've been shooting my shot for quite a while. God, you're so beautiful. It's sick. It's sickening. And I just remember, like, there's been like two people at least. Oh, what do they call it? They're like, she's hauntingly. Who's that hauntingly gorgeous woman that's at some of your things? Like, I never know what to say to her. And I was like, yeah, I know. And also dibs. I've been putting in a lot of fucking work, a lot of time into that one. So get in line. Let's run away together.
When reflecting on traumatic events that happened in childhood, and we're fortunate enough to do so from the safe and relatively healed vantage point of our adult self, we can sometimes fall into a trap of projecting our present-day perspective. Kayla talked about struggling with the feeling that she could have done more to save herself and her sibling from the abuse of her adoptive parents. In reality, young Kayla was an expert survivalist. She learned how to keep herself warm and calm when she was locked in the basement. When forced outside in the nude in broad daylight, she could have hidden, but instead she allowed herself to be seen by the delivery truck driver in order to be helped. She found ways to feed herself when she was underfed and assist her sibling quietly without escalating the cruelty for him. She became hyper-attuned to her surroundings and the adults in her life in a way that most children don't need to be. She was determined to survive. She learned how to navigate life with keen observation and careful calculation because all the information she received told her that was the only way out of the situation. It's not always as simple as asking someone for help or running away. Those same skills kicked in when she and her friend were assaulted by a group of adult men. It makes sense that Kayla today is more focused on the justice that she very much deserves. Young Kayla was working on pure instinct, and her priorities were right. There is no true justice without survival. Because she did such a great job of deflecting my comments at the end of her story, I'll say it again in another way. Kayla is one of the most charismatic, quick-witted people I know. Everyone who meets her absolutely loves her. She radiates joy and warmth. I talked to her on the phone just a couple of days ago and heard about the new house she just moved into. She made brown butter Rice Krispie treats and brought them around to all of her neighbors to introduce herself. She's thoughtful, kind, and empathetic. She hosts a great party. This beautiful life that Kayla lives today and the way that she shares it with everyone she meets, that can't be taken for granted. It's not a coincidence, and it's not a result of the actions of other people. Kayla made this life for herself, and that's another powerful form of justice. Substack is really where this project lives, so please join us there. You'll find bonus clips, companion pieces, and updates about the show and our guests. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen. And remember that just like each of us, this show grows gently and through connection. So please help us spread the word. Share an episode or two with your softest friends and your hardest enemies. Until next time.